What's up? Today we're making pork dumplings.
Step 1, make a filling. I'm making pork dumplings, so I'm going to start out with some pork. I'm not trying to make the most traditional dumplings in the history of mankind, and I'm going to just put whatever I feel like putting in them. So Napa cabbage is going to be more traditional, but I've got green cabbage. I had some shiitake mushrooms floating around my fridge, so I decided to put some shiitake mushrooms in. I don't really care about this being the most traditional thing in the world, but I care about it tasting great, and this is going to taste great, so I've always got green onions on hand, so I'm going to slice up the green parts of said green onions and throw those bad boys right in. Next I'm going to throw in some soy sauce. I didn't measure this, but let's call it 2 to 3 tablespoons. A tablespoon or 2 of toasted sesame oil, and then either rice wine vinegar or Chinkiang vinegar. Go 2 to 3 tablespoons just like the soy sauce. And lastly, let's put some ginger in. I don't really care if you use fresh ginger, ginger powder, or ginger paste, but whatever you use, a little bit goes a long way. And now just give that a thorough mixing until everything is nice and, mixed. And now it's time to talk about our wrappers. Here's the deal about the wrappers, I just like to buy them now. I've made them from scratch a number of times, but when I can buy over 50 of these for like $2.50, it's really hard to want to spend over an hour making these guys from scratch and for them to not be even like that much better. So these days, I just buy them. Well said, Aaron. Let's move on to actually making these guys. Oftentimes people will tell you to have a little bowl of water for getting the edges of your dumpling wet, but the pre-made ones in my opinion don't fold quite as easily, so I just spray the whole thing with a spray bottle of water and grab a little piece of my filling. When you're first learning this, I think just start with a little bit of filling. This is much more filling than you'd want to start with your very first time. Just start with a little bit and you can work your way up to filling these guys up fatter. And now to actually fold this into our dumpling, we're going to start by folding it in half, hamburger style. Or maybe that's hot dog style. I guess it depends on which way you turn it, but either way it's a circle, so I think they both work out in this situation. Anyway, let's move on to pleats. You see how I'm taking that little piece and kind of folding it over like that? We're going to call that a pleat. So there's another one. We just grab it, use our fingers, push them into each other, and I almost always go for 3 pleats on either side. So first I do it this way, I get my 3 pleats down, and then I actually turn it 180 degrees just because it's easier for me to work with that way, and then I do it on top. So again, I'm going to grab one side, push it over just like that, and push down, grab another one, push it over, push down. The last one can be a little bit tricky, but you'll get the hang of it the more you do this. And then you're just going to push everything down together, and there is your beautiful little dumpling. And now let's just make a bunch of these. There's just something so satisfying to me about making this super efficient with a spray bottle full of water rather than having to dip your finger in a bowl and paint the edges of each dumpling wrapper with your finger just to make sure that they're a little bit wet. And bada bing, bada boom, blingo, blingo, and the time it took me to talk about spray bottles full of water, I just made 52 dumplings. Here's the deal, with the amount of money that you saved on making all of these dumplings from scratch, if you don't have a steamer basket, you could buy a steamer basket and these beautiful pieces of parchment paper and still have saved money. If you don't believe me, let the numbers speak for themselves. This cost me about $10 to make, and just looking at the cheap Chinese food place around the corner from my apartment, these would have cost $45 if I bought all of them from them. Anyways, load up your steamer basket, put them on top of some boiling water, and we're going to let these cook for about 10 minutes. This is the perfect time to make a little dipping sauce, so we're going to start with a 1/4 cup each of soy sauce and rice wine vinegar, and just about a tablespoon of toasted sesame oil. Using a microplane, a couple cloves of garlic, and a nice grate of fresh ginger, a tablespoon or 2 of chili flakes depending on how spicy you want it, and then chop up some more of your green onions and just throw that right in. Stir everything together until it's nice and combined, and at this point your dumplings should be just about done. Be careful when removing the steamer basket, it can be really hot and the steam can hurt. I was pretty stoked on this slightly slow motion reveal of my dumplings, thinking that a dramatic cloud of steam would billow out, but I missed the moment. Those look pretty great though, right? I'm not going to eat all 50 of these in one night. I can freeze the rest of them and then I just cook them exactly the same way in the steamer basket, don't really have to thaw them or anything. With that in mind, make a bunch of these all at once, get your family, your kids, some friends together, and just have a little party. They took me maybe 30 seconds per dumpling to make, so if you get a bunch of people together, you can bang out 50 or 100 of these in half an hour. And now a closing message from me.
Dip, dip, dip.
Why is that so good? You should really make these.